I'm part of Schaefer's top jazz orchestra. It's the best music school in the country.
The key is to just relax. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about what the other guys are thinking. You're here for a reason.
Hello, welcome to What the Flick. Christy, William Bibiani, Tim Grierson. We're gonna bleed all over this table for you guys today. This is how serious we are about our jobs and talking about Whiplash. Describe Whiplash, please.
Whiplash is a film from Damien Chazelle. It stars Miles Teller as a jazz drumming student whose relationship with his teacher, conductor, J.K. Simmons, takes a turn for Full Metal Jacket. Let's take a look.
I want to be great.
And you're not.
We got Buddy Rich here. Little trouble there. You're rushing. Here we go. 5, 6, and. Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
You are a worthless pansy ass who is now weeping and slobbering all over my drum set like a 9-year-old girl. I push people beyond what's expected of them. I believe that is an absolute necessity.
I want to be one of the greats. And because I'm doing that, it's going to take up more of my time. And this is why I don't think that we should be together.
This is the most beautifully edited film. If this does not win every editing award.
It really is interesting because the editing almost isn't natural and it becomes natural over time. Like at first I'm like, this editing is so jarring in some ways, but it's always jarring in like this sort of percussive, interesting way. And after a while, I just fell in love with that.
The editing feels like jazz itself to me. Go ahead, you're gonna say.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's the strongest about this film is, I don't know if you've seen the original short this was based on. Yeah, it was Chazelle. Well, sorry, Chazelle. You know, he first showed this as a short at Sundance. I think it won a prize. And what's interesting about the short is, for people who haven't seen the film yet, it's basically the introduction of the film. We meet these two characters, and it's that first scene of the two of them in the rehearsal room together with the whole band, where Simmons kind of sets the tone for the whole film of humiliating this guy.
Is it Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons in the short?
It's not Miles Teller, but Simmons is in the original short. And if you even like the first moment you see Simmons, this is like, for anybody who's a big fan, I think of Simmons like I am. I'm a big Law and Order fan, so I've been with J.K. Simmons for a long time. He used to be on there a long time ago. And I think what's great and also slightly problematic about the film is I think Simmons just eats this part up. I mean, he's so great as being, like you said, with Full Metal Jacket. He's such an impressively intimidating drill sergeant character. You know, he has the bald head, he has the imposing, kind of physical form. He just mows down and destroys this kid. And the reason why he's doing it is because he sees so much potential in the kid. And he wants to basically see if the kid can live up to the harsh treatment that he gives this kid. My one reservation about the movie, one of a couple, is that I almost feel like Simmons' character is not really an actual character. This thing that's a little over the top. I know it's in some ways intentional, but he's almost not real. Where the rest of the movie, I think, is relatively realistically done, and he's pitched at such a level where he almost feels like he's from a much more kind of heightened film.
But I feel that that's intentional, though. I think this film is told from Miles Teller's character's perspective. And to him, J.K. Simmons is this god. He is this very respectable person. And J.K. Simmons is putting on, we do see hints that there are layers to him. There's a tragedy that occurs, and for one brief scene, he seems normal. We see a scene where they're almost meeting on equal terms, and they have a very different kind of interaction. When he's in that classroom, when he is trying to teach, he is putting on a persona.
Right.
He is putting on that unstoppable monster that you have to overcome in order to achieve greatness. And I think the fact that he goes that insane with it is an important part of the story. I think the story doesn't work if he pulls back at all. Because what I love about this movie, it's gorgeous, the acting is great, but what I love about this movie is that it has a really challenging idea behind it. It has a really challenging theme. Because there's a lot of stories about teachers and how they're really inspiring.
Right.
And this is the anti-Dead Poet Society. This is like a perverse Amadeus, where like I see greatness in you, so I'm going to destroy you.
Yeah.
Because if you can overcome that, you will be great. And there is an argument for that true greatness only comes from adversity, so that sometimes we might need to manufacture adversity in order to make people great. There is an interesting argument to be made there, and this film never decides if that's bad or not.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what's amazing about this movie.
Actually,
is that
it validates his approach, because, I mean, not a spoiler here, but Miles Teller achieves greatness.
Yeah.
It was in him all along, and so in a sort of queasy-making way, this unusual sadism works.
Yes,
you know?
exactly, and that's that's almost dangerous about this. Like I'm picturing, I think I'm a little younger than you guys. I was still in school when Dead Poet Society came out, and like every teacher, when Dead Poet Society came out, every teacher thought they should be Robin Williams. When Dangerous Minds came out, every teacher thought they should be Michelle Pfeiffer. There were a lot of leather jackets suddenly on campus, and I'm worried that teachers are going to see Whiplash and just start throwing things at their students because they think that'll, because again, the movie makes an argument and it's almost hard to dispute.
I say that's funny though, because I see what you're saying, but I think I actually agree with what you were saying earlier. That one of the things I like about Whiplash is that the movie sort of says, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Because, like Christy said, the Miles Teller character is great starting out, achieves even higher greatness as the film goes along. But I think the movie, like you were saying, is somewhat ambivalent about the idea is, but is greatness worth going through what the character goes through? And I think the movie does a really great job of not necessarily answering that question. Because I don't think that people will watch this and think, oh, we should do what J.K. Simmons does. I think people will look at it instead and go, oh, I wouldn't want to put my kid through it. I think in a lot of ways, what the movie basically says is, if you have a talented child, there are huge risks involved in pushing them to the limits. I think a lot of times when we see, amazing gymnasts who are 12 years old at the Olympics, there's this idea of, well, it was worth it because they won the gold medal. A movie like Whiplash, I think what's great is that, maybe you'll get to that point, but maybe you won't, and you'll just be destroyed because of it, and your whole life is ruined afterwards.
There's a lot of collateral damage that we do see in this film. For me, the moment in this movie, and I don't want to completely spoil it, but the moment that movie that is burned into my brain, it's one of my favorite things I've seen in any movie in a while, is the climactic scene. It's Paul Reiser watching his son perform, and this look of shock and confusion and also elation is everything this movie is about. Because he's been trying to protect his son the entire time, and now he's looking at him going, I don't even know what I believe anymore.
And if I can just jump real fast, I think Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons will get a lot of the accolades, and they should, but I also think Paul Reiser is quite good in this. And I think what Paul Reiser plays Teller's father, and he at one time had wanted to be a novelist, and it just didn't work out. He's, I think, a high school teacher. And I think what's great is that Teller's character looks at his father, and he loves his father, but he looks at his father as a failure, and he looks at his father as somebody he does not want to become. And I think Paul Reiser does such a nice job of being the sympathetic character who is in some ways a loser. And in the movie, I think, again, kind of creates this idea of, in some ways, it's almost a little bit of an easy sort of dichotomy, but it's like, are you going to be the Paul Reiser character in life who settles and is not successful? Or are you going to be the Miles Teller character who gets beaten down, chewed up, bleeding because you're so passionate about what you want to do, but maybe you're not going to end up where you want to get anyway.
But he's also self-alienating. I mean, there are people who reach out to him and try to be close to him, and he pushes them all away because the art is all that matters. And it's also about that fine line between art and madness. And again, the question of, is it worth it? And I think this film says that it is. It's the most disturbing, entertaining movie I think I've ever seen.
I know.
Outside of like Kubrick, outside of like, where you're so uneasy the whole time. And I went home edgy after this. I was in a really edgy mood in the car, and every song I heard on the radio, all I heard was the drumming afterward. So he actually is drumming. Miles Teller is doing all the drumming.
Yes, he is.
It is shot beautifully. He's really good in it, but what's interesting is that you have this clash between these two really unlikable figures, right? And yet you're also rooting for them to achieve a shared success, which is an uncomfortable place to be, but a daring place to be. It looks like pure formula of this film, like it's the Karate Kid.
In theory,
but
yes.
it takes turns that you don't expect.
Yeah. If Mr. Miyagi was an a-hole, but Karate Kid ended the same way, you're sort of like, oh, okay, it's very, very strange. I really love this movie, and I saw this movie at Sundance, and it's been my favorite movie of the year ever since.
So what's your number?
I'm giving it a 9.8.
Okay.
I don't really believe in 10s. I've only given like 1 my entire career, so this is about as good as it gets, though.
All
This
right.
movie's amazing.
Tim Grierson.
I'll give it a 7.
Okay. I'm giving it a 7.2. I like a lot about it aesthetically. I do agree that Simmons is kind of a cartoon, and some really ridiculous things happen along the way.
Yes.
I'm not going to say what.
I think-
There's a moment that's really shocking.
Yeah. I think we're talking about the same thing. I know when people see the movie, I think they'll know what you're talking about,
Yes.
honestly, because I think there's a couple moments in the second half of the film.
Yes, that are implausible.
Yes.
Yes, and yet he perseveres. Okay, so 7.2 for me. Our average is an 8. It is at 96% on the tomato meter. So everyone loves Whiplash. Go check it out. Miles Teller. Bye.